Now, modelling over long periods of time being unreliable is obviously likely to be exacerbated, but actually it turned out to be the case that we couldn't rely on all the modelling we were given in relation to COVID either, and it was part of what led us up so many unfortunate alleyways, I think.
Absolutely. I think that there is no expertise on the future of complex dynamic systems. Nobody's expert at telling you what's going to happen in the economy, in an epidemic, or in a climate.
Population.
Population's a little more deterministic, but yes.
They got it so hopelessly wrong.
They even get that one wrong again and again. Exactly. And the reason is feedback effects and, initial conditions can make a big difference and things like that. So there's not a mystery as to why that is. But for some reason, the modelers, the forecasts that they do have been invested with the same trustworthiness as, the design for a bridge and whether it'll fall down or something like that, which is indeed a perfectly good place to trust experts, if you see what I mean. And I'm very keen that we bust this myth that models can be trusted. Obviously, models of, will the sun rise tomorrow in the east? Yeah, you can model that till you're blue in the face, and I'll agree with you. But to give you a good example, in December 2022, the Omicron version of COVID began spreading very rapidly around the world and arrived in the UK. And Boris Johnson, as Prime Minister, was put under very, very strong pressure from all the scientists advising him, particularly the official committee, SAGE, that he must lock down again for the third time to prevent this, despite the accumulating evidence that this was a much milder version of the virus. And if he didn't, there would be up to 6,000 deaths per day, between 600 and 6,000 deaths per day by the middle of January 23. There was he didn't lock down. He called their bluff for once, to the fury of most of the media as well as all the scientists. He refused to have a third lockdown. He said, no, we're going to take this one on the chin. There was a rise in the death rate. It peaked at 200 per day, not 6,000 per day. Now, there's a very good example of a model being proved to be wrong. This was below the bottom range of its expectations, remember. This wasn't just below the peak, it was below the bottom end of the expectations. Being proved to be wrong within a few weeks. Now, the trouble with climate models is they can go on for decades saying, well, it could still start to rise, So yes, the temperature has warmed, but not as fast as the models were saying in the 1990s and the early 2000s. Nothing like as fast, let alone the effects on floods, droughts, storms, or sea level rise. So it takes so long to prove the models wrong in climate that they can get away with it for a very long time. What was valuable about COVID, I think, was that we were able to see in real time how overconfident these modelers can be.
Well, first, one point I can't help making, 200 deaths, whatever, is sad. It's estimated that COVID costs 7 million lives annually. Dirty fuel in household cooking, it's estimated, takes that number of lives every couple of years, and no one seems to care.
Yeah.
It's luxury belief stuff again, isn't it?
Yeah.
We're so obsessed with ourselves that somehow we don't think the life of a poor average.
A death from COVID is a tragedy, but so is a death from cancer because you didn't get to see a doctor because of lockdown, or suicide because of depression because you were stuck in your own home or something. The evidence from Sweden is overwhelmingly strong that voluntary social distancing would have been a better policy than lockdowns. We know that now for certain. And anyone who denies that has to explain the evidence from Sweden, the evidence from different American states, etc. The excess death rate in Sweden is about the lowest in Europe, if not the very lowest, during the period of the pandemic. So that's a very important lesson.